Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. Last week, we started The Possessed, which is chapter 8, book 2, chapter 8. But we are going to repeat the first couple of questions that almost started last week, and then we will comment a little bit on them, okay? Starting on 473, Philip, please.
Can a spirit temporarily assume the body of a living person, meaning can it enter an animate body and act in place of the spirit incarnated in it? A spirit does not enter a body the way you enter a house. It integrates itself with an incarnate spirit possessing the same flaws and qualities so that they may act in unison. But it is always the incarnate spirit who acts like he wishes upon the matter enveloping it. No other spirit can replace the one incarnated in a specific body, because a spirit is inextricably tied to its body until the end of its material life.
And next one, Philip.
If there is no such thing as possession or the cohabitation of two spirits in the same body, is it possible for one soul to be overpowered by another so that it sees itself subjugated or obsessed to the point of having its will somehow paralyzed? Yes, and it is this domination that constitutes what you call possession. You must understand that this domination is never established without the willing participation of the spirit who subjects to it, either due to its weakness or by its desire. People often have misidentified cases of epilepsy or insanity for possession, when they really need a physician rather than an exorcist. The word possession, as popularly understood, presumes the existence and cohabitation of demons. That is, a category of beings of a wicked nature, with a person's soul in his or her body. Since demons do not exist in the aforementioned sense, and since two spirits cannot simultaneously inhabit the same body, there is no such thing as possession according to the idea normally attached to that word. You should understand the word possessed defined only as the absolute domination of a soul by an imperfect spirit to whom it has surrendered.
Thanks. So when we talk about possession, Kardec starts to discuss possession here, and then he goes further into more details in Genesis, in the Medium's book, in Genesis, and in the Spiritist Review. Many different items he talks about possession. The concept we need to understand here is the association of two spirits through their vibrations. So the incarnated spirit attracts the discarnated spirit by vibrating at the same level, by a sharing of interests, a sharing of desires, in a sense. Now, in the Medium's book, we are going to discuss the three different cases, which is simple obsession, fascination, and possession. Possession being the most subjugation, yes. Subjugation, sorry. Subjugation means being when the incarnated is completely at the will of the spirit possessing it. The Kardec here talks about the concept that the incarnated person cannot leave the physical body. It's very clear, and we understand that. Once you have a physical body, you incarnate in a physical body. If you disconnect from the physical body dies. So there is no replacement of one spirit by another in that sense. Now, can a spirit act on an incarnate with such a strong influence that actually is the spirit directing the actions of the incarnate? Yes. And that's what we can call this possession in that sense. Subjugation. A simple obsession is just an influence that is not at the end, that doesn't prevent the incarnated person to manifest itself. In the case of subjugation, the incarnated person almost abdicates of its will, and the obsessing spirit uses the incarnated person for their own purposes. Now, on the second question, Kardec talks a little bit about, the spirits talk a little bit about the domination and the willing participation of the spirit. And that's very important, right? Because you are not going to be attacked, influenced by a spirit if you do not vibrate at the same wavelength of the spirit. So if you keep your thoughts elevated, of course, according to our own limitations, that we are not saints, we cannot, we're not perfect spirits, we cannot keep our vibrations elevated at all times. But if we keep going back to a higher vibrational level, we don't allow ourselves to stay long in this low states of vibration, we are not going to allow these spirits to connect to us. They may be around us, they may be trying to influence us. As Divaldo says, everyone, one way or another, have an obsessor around them, one or more. And Divaldo once said, if you have only one, you are lucky. But the more serious cases, it involves a little bit of a deeper attachment and connection between the two spirits, the incarnated and discarnated one. So the concept here, if a spirit can act in the body of an incarnated spirit, Kardec in the beginning in this book says no. Then he has in Genesis he says that it's possible, and in the Spiritist Review you are going to find more discussions that Kardec talks about it being possible. And I was, for those that remember the movie The Exorcist, right? With the older version or the newer version, the little girl that is possessed by a spirit, right? And when the spirit talks through her and the spirit acts through her, and the priests go there to exorcise the spirit, right? We're going to talk about exorcism a little bit later, but it doesn't work in that way. It's not a demon. It's a spirit, but that's the sense that Kardec further explains in Genesis in the Spiritist Review, that the spirit is using the physical body of an incarnated person to express itself and to act. And in that sense is what Kardec says, that possession can be a cohabitation of the physical body. But it's a complex theme. There is no full agreement between spiritists on this. How does it work? What can be or cannot? So I rather have those that are interested, go and research more and study more. There is a lot of literature on that, but according to Kardec, here he says no, but then later he says yes, it's possible. Okay, and anything that you.
Yeah, so the apparent ambiguity in the answer is not true, because if you read the question very carefully, the 73, the spirit's answer specifically what was asked. Kardec asked, can a spirit take over another body and act as if it belongs to it? And the spirit says, no, that cannot happen. But the complete domination of the will, that is possible. The problem with the word possession is that you associate with, as Ron said, the bad stuff, the exorcist, the demon, and those kind of things, Satan, that in Spiritism we absolutely reject that possibility, because you don't believe in demons, you don't believe in Satan. You believe in his evil spirits, well, evil spirits perhaps, and they can make use of someone's body when the will of that someone is overpowered by the will of the discarnate spirit. You want to call that possession? I think it's up to you. It creates a problem also, because if you see the case of Julia in the book, in the 1863 Spiritist Review, there was no subjugation there. Because subjugation is a very intense case of obsession. In that case, that woman was a somnambulistic medium, and when she was so far distant from the physical body in a somnambulic state, there was an opportunistic spirit that will make use of that body, causing no harm to her. You just want to speak with his friends, tell him when he died, and no big deal. In Genesis, there is another case, another type of the Kardec you call possession, which is a good one. It's when a higher spirit wants to use or give a communication. There has to be a more elevated medium as well, and it wants to eliminate any possibility of animism. So that spirit will temporarily short, with the permission of the medium, make complete use of that physical body with the permission of the medium, and you avoid any kind of animism. When that happens, there is perhaps transfiguration, this change of appearance, not completely. The voice, the physical expression, we see the case of Terra Divaldo when he receives the spirit of Bezerra de Menezes. All those three things, Kardec is calling possession. It's up to you to decide. The beauty of Spiritism is this. Even Kardec, in 57 says no. In 60 said, I changed my mind. That's the beauty of Spiritism, no dogmas. And he changed his mind based on experiments, based on what evidence that he sees. So we make our decision here. I don't like the word possession personally. But someone will say, no, it's fine, it's just a word.
Yeah.
Well, I watched long time ago, the movie about the Bezerra de Menezes. I think he had a son.
A son, yes.
Who was possessed.
Yes, subjugated. Yes.
Because at the end, he discarnated because the spirit left his body.
Yeah. Yeah, the connection between the two, it was Dr. Bezerra was told when he went to treat his son, he was told if the connection is so tight between the two that if we separate, it's very possible that your son will die. And he did die. So you see, which is a case. It's an interesting case, right?
Yeah.
It is interesting that in that case, that spirit, he was actually after Bezerra de Menezes, but he could not reach him because he was at such a high level already that he couldn't reach. But he could torture Bezerra through the sun.
to the sun.
Now, the caveat is that the sun was also his comrade in whatever they did that hurt that spirit of seeking revenge on Bezerra de Menezes. It's not that the sun, just because it was the sun,
Yeah,
they
was
had
not
an
an innocent.
association.
Yeah.
They were together in the past, and they both caused harm to the one that now is seeking revenge.
Yeah, there is no innocence,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Because we were saying, no, man, they're just gonna use the sun, the poor sun, no. And that's not the poor, he is also responsible for something.
Yeah. No, if the son was not involved, he wouldn't be a victim of. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think it's important to mention that.
Yeah.
Shall I? 475. Can a soul drive degraded spirits away and free itself from their control? You can always rid yourself of any burden if you are resolutely determined to do so.
Yeah. Again, we have free will. We control our vibrations, our desires. Of course, there are some cases, very serious cases, as we were discussing, of subjugation, that the spirit loses, almost completely loses its will. So it's very difficult without help and assistance for the spirit, for the incarnated individual to get rid of the influence. But in general, you know, we can rid ourselves from obsessions, from fascinations, from any type of possessions, if we have the will to do so, resolutely determined to do so. Okay.
The Kardec says that in fascination, you lose your reasoning. In subjugation, you lose your will. So in subjugation, it's very hard to do by yourself. Can't say it's impossible, but likely because you don't have a will, how can you manage by yourself? So likely you're gonna need some kind of help.
Yeah.
Or a lot of help.
Yeah, actually, you know, fascination is a serious case also, because the person, as you said, is a very good definition, loses the reason, and there is no way to convince the person that he or she is wrong, because it's fascinated. It truly believes in what they are.
It can be even harder to treat than
Yeah.
subjugation.
Yeah.
476.
76, yes. Sorry. Go back.
I have eyes in the back of my head. Could the allure of a wicked spirit be so complete that the victim is unaware of it? In such a case, could a third party end the overpowering? If so, what conditions should the person fulfill? The willpower of a moral individual may be useful by attracting the cooperation of good spirits. The more honest a person is, the more power that person has to drive away imperfect spirits and attract good ones. Nevertheless, this third person would be helpless in such a case if the one who is subjugated were open to the efforts made on his or her behalf. Some individuals delight in dependence that flatters their tastes and desires. Impure individuals at heart cannot exercise any liberating influence because they are ignored by good spirits, and bad ones do not fear them.
So how can someone be helped? You can only help those that want to be helped, right? That are open to receive help. So as the Spirit says here, some individuals delight in dependence that flatters their tastes and desires. And this is, in cases of fascination, this is very clear, right? Because the individuals truly believe that they are right, that they lose their reason, as Elmo said. On the spirits that are subjugated, the lack of will makes it very difficult for them to receive the assistance and the help. There's always help available, and there's always the possibility of helping if there is any flicker of light in the in opening the spirit, the incarnated one, to receive help. But in cases of obsession, simple obsession is easier because the individual is still in full control of their mind. But in the other cases, it becomes more and more difficult. Again, the good spirits are going to help those that are open to be helped. But you know, it's a difficult situation always.
Keep in mind that the third body in the case here, incarnate or discarnate, must have authority.
Moral authority.
And authority in this case is moral authority.
Yeah, again, we talk every Monday here with spirits that are in process of obsessing individuals, and it's always hard to have these conversations because they don't see any reason to leave what they're doing. They absolutely believe it's their right of vengeance, right? The vengeance, they normally are looking for vengeance, and they believe they're right, that they were hurt, they want to hurt back. So it's a difficult conversation. If the obsessed does not help, it's also very hard. There is a case in the domain of mediumship, right, of a woman that goes to the spiritist center because her husband, this discarnated husband, is obsessing her, right? And then when they separate the husband, when she goes to sleep, the first thing that she do when she goes to sleep is go after the husband. So it's an obsession that she doesn't want to get rid of. So again,
yeah, actually the spirit says, "I'm trying to leave, but
yeah,
not me."
Yes, actually, the husband was kind of ready to leave her, but she didn't want.
Who's calling me back?
So again, there are 5 different types of obsession. Okay, incarnate. The most common one that we talk most of the time is discarnate to incarnate, right? That's the obsession we mostly discuss because it's the most common one. But there are obsessions from discarnate to discarnate in the spiritual world, from incarnate to discarnate, which is the case of this woman with her husband. So she was the one obsessing her discarnated husband. Incarnate to incarnate, and you know, when someone dominates completely someone else, in couples, in rare cases, you see the complete domination from one to the other. It can be classified as an obsession. And the 5th one, self-obsession. You can obsess yourself with some ideas, with some desires, and it can cause a lot of harm to oneself also. Okay. Exorcism.
477. Do exorcisms have any power over bad spirits? No. When bad spirits see someone seriously trying to cast them out by such means, they laugh and persist in their efforts.
Okay. Of course, it's a simple answer from the spirits, and that makes a lot of sense. But it's a little bit more complex than that, right? If exorcism did not work, the Catholic Church would have abandoned it a long time ago, right? If they continue doing the exorcism, it's because first they truly believe that it works, and second, probably has some temporary effect, right? Because if you are able to separate the spirit that is obsessing from the obsessed, you are providing a temporary solution. The problem with exorcism is that you temporarily separate, but if you don't educate both, it's just a temporary solution, and they're going to go back to the obsession is going to come back. So because an evil spirit, if you just separate, they are going to come back. They need to understand why they are being separated, and they need to believe that there is a good reason for them not to go back. And the obsessed also need to understand that the cause of obsession lies to start in themselves. So if just to get rid, but you don't educate both, it's going to come back. So exorcism has any, the question is, exorcism have any power of bad spirits? In terms of eliminating the obsession, the exorcism has no effect. But in terms of temporarily separating the spirit from the obsessor, from the obsessed, we see cases, right? That we see cases that the church talks about it, and you have to do a class on it in the church, learn how to work in exorcism. So again, as Kardec always says, right? If something is a lie, it dies by itself. It's if it has to have some truth in it to persist throughout, for such a long time, right?
Well, sorry, can it be like a placebo effect? Like the incarnate one, like believes that is being free from the obsessor, and then change the vibration,
Possible, yes.
and then
Yeah.
so changing the vibration, the obsessor is not.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Again, we understand the process according to Spiritism, right? The separation, the vibration, the connection. So whatever they use in an exorcism, if they are able to temporarily separate, it can become permanent if one of the two change.
Yeah.
If they learn something that makes them change. But if nothing is done on both, just a matter of time until it comes back.
They'll get together again.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So Kardec addresses that also in Genesis and in the chapter of fluids. And you go back, must have authority. So the spirits here, they answer specifically the question, does exorcism work? Exorcism as a code, that you throw the water, that you do the crucifix on the face of the guy, and do whatever, those mechanical.
The ritualistic part.
The code, the rituals, no. The answer is plain no, it doesn't. Now, if that priest, the person who's performing, has that moral authority, it will take, as John said, this temporary effect. If the one suffering from that subjugation applies him or herself, then they could end this, right? But the resolution, and Kardec put it, there is only one resolution for this problem, is the education of both, the incarnate and the discarnate. That's the cure of that problem.
Yeah. Okay.
478. Well-intentioned individuals are sometimes obsessed. What is the best way to free oneself from obsessing spirits? To tire their patients and ignore their suggestions. Show them that they are wasting their time. They go away when they see that their efforts are fruitless.
Again, well-intentioned individuals, as Dival says, we are all obsessed somewhat because we all have enemies from the past. We all, if that's the best version of ourselves, of course, we were not so good 5, 10, 3 incarnations ago, and we probably did some things not very good. And we probably have some enemies that we still haven't been able to forgive us and are still trying to get revenge. So even if you change your intentions, you are a well-intentioned individual, we are carrying our past with us. So if we are carrying our past with us, there are these spirits that look at us and don't believe that we really changed. They believe that we are just trying to hide our true self, and they are trying to obsess us. It's on us to not allow ourselves to be distracted by them, to be disturbed by them. As the Spirit says here, they will go away when they see that their efforts are fruitless. We can think of us as incarnate spirits, right? Someone invites you to do something that you know is harmful, you have no intention of doing, you never did, you're not going to do it. They can insist, eventually they will get tired of it, right? We talk about addictions, right? If you don't want to consume a drug someone is offering you and you have no intention because you know it's not good for you and it's harmful, you're not going to do it. And a person is going to offer you once, twice, 3 times, and then will give up. It's the same thing with spirits, right? They'll move away because someone else they can influence someone else, right? There are billions of individuals, incarnates and discarnates. Okay.
479. Is prayer an effective means of ending obsession? Prayer is always an effective means of obtaining help, but you must remember that reciting a few choice words is not enough to get what you want. God helps those who help themselves, but not those who limit themselves to only asking for help. Obsessed persons must do their utmost to cure themselves of the flaws that attract bad spirits to them.
Okay. We talked many times about prayer. Prayer is always an effective means of obtaining help. And again, Elmo likes to say that he doesn't like the words never or always, right? But in this case is an exception because prayer always helps if it's sincere prayer.
Yeah.
Again.
Not just blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yes, not
Repeating the words.
Not just repeating words that and you're thinking about the dinner, right? You're saying words and thinking about dinner. That doesn't help. But if you are praying from your heart, even if you don't say words, any words, but comes from your heart, we will always, yes, 100% of time will help. God helps them, those who help themselves. Again, prayer. Again, you need to put in action what you are asking for. You need to do your part, and then combine that with prayer. Will be able to move away these obsessors, to disconnect from them. So yes, the first instrument to help oneself is prayer, sincere prayer. Okay, should be we shouldn't have to say sincere prayer, right? But because prayer is so misunderstood, we have to keep saying sincere prayer. Okay.
480. What should we think of the instruction to cast out devils as mentioned in the Gospels? That depends on the meaning you attach to the word devil. If you mean a bad spirit who overpowers human being, it is obvious that it will be driven away when the person being obsessed destroys its influence. If you attribute an illness to the devil, you may say that you have driven the devil away when you have healed your sickness. A statement may be true or false, depending on the meaning attributed to certain words. The most important truths may seem ridiculous when you only consider them in the form in which they are presented. And when a metaphor is taken literally, understand this well and remember it, for it is of general application.
Okay. First, in Spiritism, we don't As I almost said before, we don't believe in devil, right? What we have is we are all spirits, and there are spirits still dedicated to cause harm, still dedicated to evil. So these spirits are what is called outside spiritism devil. But to cast out devils, as they say here, it depends on the meaning attributed to the words, as the spirits explain very well to us, right? So if they are calling your obsessor devil, you can, if you change your behavior, you change your actions, you can cast out the devil. If you are ill because of you call your illnesses, as they say here, you attribute your illness to the devil. When you are healed, you cast out the devil, right? But again, we understand that we are all spirits and that there are many inferior spirits, evil spirits trying to influence us for different reasons. And it is possible to separate them from us if we do our part, if we take care of our vibrations, okay? Okay. All right, so this next item here is a not very easy to discuss. Convulsionaries, we don't have much to talk about it. I'm going to ask Philip to read. It's only 3 questions. I'm going to ask Philip to read all 3 questions together, so we cover it all for once, and we finish it with it today. Okay.
481, Convulsionaries. Do spirits play a role in the phenomena exhibited by individuals called convulsionaries? Yes, a very important one, just like magnetism, which is the original source of these phenomena. Charlatans have inflated these effects and made them a matter of speculation, which has demeaned them. What is the general nature of the spirits who help produce this type of phenomenon? Not very elevated. Do you think that higher spirits would waste their time in such a manner? 482. How can the abnormal state of convulsionaries and hysterical individuals suddenly strike an entire population? By sympathetic effect. Moral dispositions are communicated quite easily in certain cases. Surely you are not so unaware of the effects of human magnetism that you are unable to understand this. There is also the natural role of certain spirits in such occurrences through attunement with those by whom they are produced. Somnambulism and magnetism show us numerous examples of bizarre behavior identical to the ones convulsionaries display. These include physical insensitivity, thought reading, sympathetic transmission of pain, and so on. This makes it impossible to doubt that these hysterical individuals are experiencing some sort of waking somnambulism, determined by the influence that they inadvertently exercise upon each other. At the same time, they are both magnetizers and magnetized without ever realizing it. 483. What is the cause of the physical insensitivity sometimes observed in convulsionaries and even in other people when subjected to the most brutal torture? In some cases, it is simply an exclusively magnetic effect, which acts upon the nervous system as certain substances do. In other cases, mental excitement stifles the sensitivity of the body, with life seeming to withdraw from the body to concentrate on the spirit. Have you not observed that when the spirit is intensely concerned with any matter, the body neither feels, nor sees, nor hears? The excitement of fanaticism, and enthusiasm often offered by individuals subjected to tortures, examples of a tranquility that could hardly trump executing pain unless the sensitivity of the patient was diffused by some kind of anesthetic effect. In the heat of battle, a severe wound is often obtained without being noticed, while a mere scratch is intensely felt under ordinary conditions. Since these phenomena are due to both the action of physical causes and that of spirits, one may wonder how public authorities in some cases were able to stop them. The answer is very simple. The action of spirits is only secondary. They do nothing more than take advantage of a natural predisposition. Public authorities did not overcome this predisposition, but rather the cause that stimulated it, reducing it from an active state to a latent one. They were right in doing this because this phenomenon was the impetus of exploitation and scandal. This interference, however, is ineffective when the action of spirits is direct and spontaneous.
Okay, thanks. So first, convulsionaries, what are they? These are individuals that enter in the convulsive state caused by something, right? It's a semi-trance state. The individual loses their ability to function normally and enters into a state of a convulsive state caused by something normally external. If you go into the Spiritist review, there is the Convulsionaries of Saint Médard, which is the example that is most discussed there, which is a group of people that when they went to a cemetery where so-called a priest that was very charitable was buried there, and the people started going there and it started entering into convulsive state and talking in languages and other physical effects, and then started to happen to many at the same time. The spirit was brought to talk to Kardec, and he said to the meeting that he was brought to that he had nothing to do with it. That of course there were spirits that are there, as they say here, not very elevated spirits that were causing all these effects. They were, it's a type of a sonambulism or mediumship or something like that that can cause these, and it goes from one to another, and it can happen to a group of people. That's why in Saint Médard what became famous, because it was a group of, it's contagious in a sense, right? And during this stage, as they say here, these spirits, these incarnated individuals may not feel anything that happens to their physical body, as Kardec explains here later. Same effect that a soldier in the heat of a battle sometimes get injured and does not feel the injury until later, or doesn't feel until everything stops, or sometimes they go back to the spiritual world and continue not feeling there or start feeling there. But so it's the same thing. So they are in such a state of altered state of mind that they don't feel anything that is happening to their physical body. It's, again, it has always have some spiritual influence, some spirits connected that take advantage of these individuals that are in a convulsive state. It can be interrupted, like it says, Kardec explains here, that authorities interfered and ended. In the end, the cemetery, they end up preventing people from going there, right? Forbidding people from going there to the tomb, so for it to stop, because it was becoming something of a nuisance for the whole city, right? The town. So again, it's at the time of Kardec, apparently there were more cases described to Kardec. We don't hear much of this nowadays, right? That people enter into these convulsive states, it's convulsionary. So I don't think we have much more to talk about this. I don't know, Elmo, you have something else that you read that you study here? No?
I agree. I don't think that adds much to our studies of spiritism, to the influence of spirits in our lives. Kardec had to put in the book because of something quite contemporaneous to his days, all those advances during his time. So he had to mention that. But I think the only thing they'll add when the spirit says that the crowd there acts as magnetizers and magnetized at the same time. You have to remember that we are, as Kardec says, our perispirit is purely fluidic, and being fluidic has the ability to expand and enter in contact with other fluidic bodies, perispirit, and create that current that everybody starts to share that commonality of whatever it's happening to their group, and they go together into semi-trance, semi-convulsions. The same way, if you have so much empathy, someone is telling a very sad story, and that person starts to cry, you start to cry together with that person. You got so involved in that. Someone starts laughing like crazy, you can't help yourself, it starts laughing also. So if you imagine now our perispirit expanding a little bit, and we start sharing what we are feeling at that moment, it may involve the whole community and everybody start going to the same process.
Okay. Any questions here, comments? All right, we're going to stop here. Next week we'll cover affection of spirits for certain individuals. So what we have this weekend, the lecture, the talk on Saturday is by Brian Vosberg. It's corporeal assistance. It's going to be presented by Brian Vosberg from Florida, Saturday, 11 a.m. This Sunday, we are going to study Jesus in the Home. Where we start? Chapter 8, 9, 10, 11. 9. Yeah. Chapter 9. Okay. Can we do our final prayer, please?
Give thanks to our spiritual benefactors for the assistance and inspiration, to our Master Jesus Christ, to God above all things for this opportunity of being together. We ask to be inspired throughout the week to apply all that we learn with this beautiful doctrine in our daily lives to the best of our abilities. May we use our Master Jesus Christ as the reference in our actions and our decision makings. May we be patient, tolerant to those around us who may not want the best for us. May you be smart to resign to the things we cannot change and have the will, the courage, and discipline to make the necessary change so that things are able to. Grateful and asked to be back here next week in good health, ready and willing to learn and to share the very little that we have to share. We ask permission to close this meeting. So be it.